Today, our deep dive is all about retail mentorship, something that affects, well, pretty much everyone who shops.
It really does. And for this dive, we've pulled together some really interesting stuff for you. Think of it like a curated kit.
Okay.
We've got study guides covering the basics, transcripts from a focused webinar with some real-world angles, and even some quick briefing docs on key strategies.
All about what makes retail mentorship actually work.
Right, precisely. What makes it effective?
So the mission today, if you stick with us, and we hope you do, is to pull out the absolute core insights from all this material.
Yeah, the key frameworks, the things you can actually use.
We want to give you a really solid grasp of effective retail mentorship, fast and deep, your express lane to getting informed on something pretty vital in business.
And what's interesting is seeing how these different sources, they often point to the same core ideas, but sometimes with slightly different takes that add, well, real depth.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, something super practical. Training new retail staff, the basic operational stuff. The sources seem to really focus on a specific 4-step approach.
Yes, this seems to be a real cornerstone. It breaks down into Persiapan. That's the preparation bit.
Preparation, okay.
Then Tunjukan and Jalaskan, which is basically show and explain.
Got it.
After that, trainee praktek dengan buddy, trainee practice with a buddy.
Oh, like a peer support thing.
Exactly. And finally, verifikasi mandiri, or independent verification.
Right. Let's unpack that first one. Persiapan, preparation. Sounds like the mentor getting everything ready beforehand.
Pretty much. It's setting the stage. So the mentor needs to, really know the skill themselves inside out.
Can't teach what you don't know.
Right. And having the tools ready, the SOPs, standard operating procedures handy, and scheduling the training properly. Not when the store's chaotic.
Makes sense. And what else stood out there?
2 things, really. 1, focus. The mentor needs to be present. No multitasking while training.
Easy trap to fall into.
Very. And the other, kind of related, is humility. Don't assume the trainee knows anything already, even if it seems obvious. Start from square one.
Yeah, build that foundation properly. Okay, so after prepping, step 2 is Tunjukan and Jalaskan show and explain. This is the actual teaching part.
This is it. The mentor physically does the skill while explaining it clearly. The sources hammer home explaining the what, why, and how.
What you're doing, why it matters, and how to do it right.
Exactly. And using simple language. Visuals help too, if possible.
And pitfalls to avoid here, like what not to do.
Definitely. Big one. Just talking at them without showing. People need to see it.
Yeah, I learned by seeing.
Most people do. The other mistake is rushing. Give them time to actually process it, ask questions.
So it needs to be paced right, not just a lecture, but a real demonstration with explanation.
Precisely. You want them to see it, understand the why behind the what.
Okay, makes sense. Step 3, trainee praktek dengan buddy practice with a buddy. I like this idea, pairing them up.
It's really smart. The buddy, being a peer, someone who does the job, can offer that immediate sort of less intimidating support.
Right, quick questions, a bit of encouragement.
Yeah. While the actual mentor keeps an eye on things daily, making sure the technique is developing correctly.
So it's guided, supported practice, not just throwing them in the deep end.
Definitely not. And the sources are clear. The trainee has to do it. Watching the buddy isn't enough.
Active practice, not passive observation.
That's the key. Get hands-on. The buddy provides that safety net and quick feedback.
Okay, solid. Which brings us to the final step. Verifikasi mandiri independent verification. The moment of truth.
Kinda, yeah. Can they do it alone? Correctly. The sources talk about a 0 mistake standard here.
0 mistakes. Wow, that's a high bar.
It sounds strict, but in retail, consistency matters, right? Customer experience. So the mentor observes them doing the task, usually against a checklist or the SOP.
And this needs to happen in the right environment, not during the morning rush.
Ideally, yes, a suitable setting. And crucially, if they're still making errors, they don't pass. It's about confirming genuine competence.
Not just ticking a box. They need to be truly self-sufficient in that skill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when they nail it, Positive feedback, validation, that's important too. It confirms they've reached the standard. That zero mistake thing, it underlines how crucial consistency is for customer trust.
Looking at all 4 steps, you can really see the logic. Prep leads to clear showing, which leads to guided practice, which confirms mastery.
Exactly. They flow together. Good prep makes the demo better, the buddy helps practice stick, and verification proves it's learned.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Mentorship isn't always about teaching tasks, right? Sometimes it's about the harder stuff, difficult conversations.
Oh yeah. Nobody enjoys them, but they're vital for growth. And the material really stresses the mindset going in.
How so?
The goal has to be about building them up, helping them grow, not about blame, not about getting angry or making assumptions.
That's a huge shift, isn't it? Approaching it as help, not criticism.
Makes a world of difference, creates openness, less defensiveness. And a key tactic is focusing on behavior, not personality.
Ah, that old chestnut.
Yeah.
What they did, not who you think they are.
Precisely. Keep it objective, actionable. So instead of, you seem distracted, it's, I noticed you were on your phone while a customer was waiting.
Much more specific, harder to argue with, and gives them something concrete to address.
Exactly. And the sources offer a couple of handy frameworks for structuring these talks, SBI and DESC.
Okay, SBI first. Situation, behavior, impact.
Correct. Describe the situation, detail the specific behavior, explain the impact.
Got an example.
Yeah, like yesterday afternoon during the rush situation, I saw you were on a personal call behind the counter for about 5 minutes. Behavior. Because of that, a line formed and a couple of customers looked pretty unhappy. Impact.
Very factual. Situation, behavior, impact, clear. Okay, what about DSC?
DSC is describe, express, specify, consequence. Similar goal, slightly different structure. You describe the situation or behavior. Express your feelings or concerns using I statements like, I'm concerned.
Specify.
Specify the change you need to see, the desired behavior, and explain the consequence, positive or negative, if the change does or doesn't happen.
Let's hear the retail example for that one. Something about inventory.
Right. Mentor might say, I noticed the end-of-day checklist wasn't done last night. Describe. I'm concerned because that data is vital for our ordering express. Going forward, I need you to make sure that checklist is finished and handed in before you leave each day. Specify. If we keep missing it, our stock management gets messy and it could hurt sales. Consequence.
Again, very structured. Both models seem designed to take the heat out and focus on improvement.
That's the idea. And one more thing, the sources say, always close positively.
How so?
Summarize the main points, reiterate what needs to happen, but then express confidence in them. Offer support. End on encouragement.
So even after tackling a problem, reinforce that it's about their growth.
Exactly. It's developmental, not just disciplinary.
Now, something else our sources highlight is the difference between a mentor and, say, a supervisor or manager in retail. They're not the same role.
No, definitely not. And understanding that difference is key. A supervisor, a manager, often their focus is evaluation, task management, making sure today's operations run smoothly.
Give them a job done now.
Right. A mentor, though, plays more of a guiding developmental role. They're a role model, a facilitator for long-term growth.
So less about ticking off tasks, more about nurturing potential and skills over time, encouraging them to think for themselves.
That's a really good way to put it. The mentor is looking at the bigger picture of that person's development journey, providing feedback for long-term improvement, not just overseeing today's work.
It's a shift from just managing to actually developing talent.
Precisely. The mentor is an advisor, an advocate for growth, not just another boss.
Okay, that distinction is clear. A guide, a role model. Now, to help mentors be that guide, the sources talk about specific tools, right? Frameworks for feedback and coaching, like STAR and GROW.
Yeah, these are super practical. STAR, we touched on it with SBI situation, task, action, result.
Yeah.
Great for specific, often daily feedback.
After something happens.
Exactly. Or just reviewing a specific instance. You look at the situation, what the task was, what action the person took, and what the result was. And crucially, what was learned, what insight came from it.
So it helps break down specific moments to understand what worked well or what needs tweaking. Anchors feedback in reality.
Right. Less subjective, more concrete.
Yeah.
Then you have GRIO W. Goal, reality, options, will. This is framed more as a coaching model.
For those regular check-ins, like weekly meeting.
Exactly. Perfect for that. It structures a conversation about forward momentum.
How does it work? Goal.
Start with their goals. What do they want to achieve this week or longer term? Then explore the reality. Where are they now with that? What's working? What are the roadblocks?
Okay, goal, reality, then options.
Options, yeah. Brainstorming ways to overcome the roadblocks, different approaches to reach the goal, exploring possibilities.
And finally, will. What they'll actually do.
Yes. What specific actions will they commit to taking before the next check-in? Makes it concrete.
So STAR is like looking back at specific events for feedback, and GROW is looking forward, planning development.
That's a great summary. STAR often reacts to the past. GROW proactively plans the future. Both incredibly useful.
But just knowing STAR and GROW isn't the whole picture, is it? The sources also talk about the mentor's personal qualities.
Oh, absolutely. You can know all the techniques, but if you don't have the right personal attributes, it won't land. Patience is huge. Understanding. One source used the word teleton.
Teleton. What does that capture?
It implies that patient, meticulous, dedicated kind of understanding, really sticking with someone through the learning process.
I like that. And caring peduli, that also came up, showing you're genuinely invested.
Yes. That builds trust, makes the environment feel safe for learning, for making mistakes even. And leading by example, menjadi teladan. You have to walk the talk.
Practice what you preach. Makes sense. What else?
Being open to feedback yourself is powerful. Shows you're learning too. And just being consistent, committed. The mentee needs to feel the mentor is reliable and truly cares.
So it's patience, care, leading by example, openness, consistency, commitment. That's the foundation.
That's what builds a really strong, effective mentoring relationship. It's beyond just the techniques.
Okay, now one source, the webinar transcript, really dug into how these mentoring conversations actually, flow. It's not rigid, right? More like a dance.
Exactly. Not a rigid formula at all. It's dynamic. The webinar called it the mentoring dynamic. It involves moving between 4 main approaches.
4 approaches. Okay, what are they?
Eliciting, supporting, challenging, and selectively sharing.
Eliciting, like drawing them out, asking questions, listening.
That's the starting point, yeah. Encouraging them to talk. The webinar mentioned an 80-20 principle. The mentee does 80% of the talking, especially early on. Open-ended questions are key.
Okay, get them thinking and talking first, then supporting.
Supporting is about encouragement, validating their efforts, their feelings, creating that safe space we talked about.
Building them up. But it's not all support, you said, challenging.
Right. Effective mentoring isn't just cheerleading. It involved gently challenging them, offering different viewpoints, questioning assumptions, nudging them out of their comfort zone a bit.
A bit of constructive friction to spark growth.
That's a good way to think about it. Without undermining them, of course. It's a fine balance.
And the last one, selectively sharing.
That's where the mentor brings in their own expertise, their knowledge, experience, but selectively. When it's truly helpful, not just lecturing. Shifting from eliciting to imparting knowledge appropriately.
So a good mentor shifts between these 4: eliciting, supporting, challenging, sharing, depending on the moment and the person.
Precisely. It's fluid, responsive. And to help navigate this, the webinar offered a simple framework, like 4 big umbrella questions.
Not questions to ask word for word, but themes to guide the chat.
Exactly. More like guiding principles for the conversation.
Okay, what are they?
Where are you now? Where do you want to be? How might you get there? And how are you doing now?
Where are you now? Sounds like understanding their current reality. Skills, challenges, perspective.
That's it. Setting the scene. Then where do you want to be? Shifts to goals, aspirations. What does success look like for them?
Okay, current state, desired state. Then how might you get there? That's the planning part. Brainstorming options.
Yeah, exploring strategies, identifying steps. Notice the might. It keeps possibilities open, encourages their input in finding the path.
I like that might. less prescriptive. And the last one, how are you doing now? That's for follow-up.
Exactly. Checking in on progress, discussing new challenges, adjusting the plan. It circles back to the present reality based on what's happened since you last spoke.
And this 4-question framework, it's not just for formal meetings, right? The webinar said it's adaptable.
Super adaptable. You can use it for career chats, performance reviews. The webinar even suggested a 3.1 positive to corrective feedback ratio within that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, also for capability development, talking about team results, project debriefs, keeping it objective, no blame, even those quick informal mentoring moments.
So where were we? Where did we want to be? How did we get there? How are we now? For a debrief. Makes sense.
It's versatile.
Yeah.
And they mention practical tips too, like getting the mentee to prep a mini agenda.
Right. So they come prepared, take ownership.
Exactly. And again, emphasizing open-ended questions and active listening, minimal responses, probing, reflecting back. Let the mentee drive the discovery.
It really comes back to that flexible, dynamic, mentee-centered approach.
That's the core message. Guide, support, challenge appropriately, and empower them to find their own way.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this deep dive up. We've covered quite a bit. That structured 4-step training method.
Persiapan, tunjukkan jelaskan, praktik dengan body, verifikasi mandiri.
Yep. The crucial mindset for difficult talks, growth, not blame, and those SBI and DESC tools.
Focusing on behavior, not personality.
The clear difference between a mentor, the guide, and a supervisor managing tasks.
Very important distinction.
The practical STAR and GROW frameworks for feedback and coaching.
STAR for specifics, GROW for goals.
Those essential qualities, patience, care, leading by example.
Telaten, peduli, menjadi teladan, and consistency, openness.
And finally, that fluid mentoring dynamic, eliciting, supporting, challenging, sharing, guided by those 4 big questions.
Where are you now? Where do you want to be? How might you get there? How are you doing now?
The goal here was really to give you, our listeners, a solid, actionable grasp of what makes retail mentorship work without getting lost in the weeds.
Hopefully, distilling these core ideas helps you see the bigger picture quickly.
So a final thought to leave you with. As you think about all this, which bit really stands out to you? Is it one of the frameworks like SBI or GrowOW? Is it the 4 training steps? Or maybe those 4 guiding questions?
Yeah, think about a situation you might face, maybe as a mentor or even being mentored yourself.
Yeah.
How could you apply just 1 or 2 of these insights?
There's definitely more to explore, but even applying one small part could make a real difference in how you approach developing people or your own development in that retail space. Food for thought.